So, good evening and welcome back, or welcome to the Unforced Error. I was hoping to recap the whole of the first round of the Australian Open. We've 2 days down now, but unfortunately, due to weather events in Melbourne, we're not totally through the first round, but we're nearly there. So, we'll have a quick recap of how far we've come. Here currently it's about quarter past 11 here in Ireland, and we're very close to day three now at this stage. Makes it about quarter past 10 in Melbourne, so we are only less than an hour away, or maybe an hour or so away from day three action. So just to go through, I suppose, some of the main headlines of the first 2 days. I suppose the first one was the sad news of Nick Kyrgios, who got an injury and had to withdraw, and he was fairly devastated over that. As you can imagine, it's a home slam for him, and after making the final in Wimbledon last year, was probably eyeing this up as soon as that tournament was over, and he won the doubles last year as well, and that was um, a huge win for him, especially because it's his home slam and he did it with his friend as well. So really disappointing to hear that. That was a big blow to the start of a tournament that's already lost a lot of big names to injuries. But that's life, and hopefully he'll be back soon. And always, he's a controversial figure, as we've said before. But I think you never like to see anyone getting injured for the big slams. It's the year is based around these four tournaments, and I think, as controversial as he is, he kind of appeals to that bit in us all that wants to see really talented people get the best out of themselves, and unnatural talent. As I've mentioned before, there's very few players with more of it than him. So we wish him the best, and we hope to see him soon. I suppose the overall team after the first round, as funny as it may sound, is that there was no major upsets, and that's quite unusual. Now, there were upsets, there were people who were favoured to win that didn't win, but no, usually in the first round there's usually one or two of the top seeds that drop off or fall out, and especially in the Aussie Open, because of the fact that it's the start of the year and we don't know kind of too much about what form players are in. So if we just take a look at some of the big names, Emma Raducanu beat Korpach in a straight sets victory, and she played very well. She showed a lot of patience and kind of used the centre of the court very well, and she seems to be moving relatively well. We had the injury scare there last week, yeah, so, and sets up a very enticing second round with Coco Gauff, who also made it through relatively easy. So that's going to be a great second round. It's probably the pick of the second round, and two very young women, but two previous US Open winners in a funny way, and two women who have a lot of experience. So and that's going to be one. It's always nice to see these matches now, because we're going to be seeing a lot of these two players for the next 10 plus years, depending on how long they want to stay. So they're two extremely talented, and it'd be really exciting to see them go at it. So yeah, Goff bet Sinikova and was very much in control. Jessica Pegula, the American, beat Christian, and seems to be hitting the ball really well. Maria Sakkari, the Greek lady, flew through her round as well, and again, as you'd expect, looking very strong, very fit, and moving as well very, very well in a lot of heat. Danielle Collins actually had an injury scare. She won against Kalinskaya, excuse some of the pronunciations. She had an injury scare about her knee in the first set, I believe, but the physios came on, did some work, and she was feeling a lot better then. So she got through, and the favourite Iga Swiatek got through against Niemeyer. Didn't have it all her own way. She did win in two sets, but probably not as easily as she would have liked. But I suppose the main thing about the first round, it's easy to read too much into them. But the important thing is, in terms of seeds getting knocked out, a lot of the top players will kind of build their form throughout the tournament. So, a lot of players, even the top ones, are kind of nervous for the first round. They just want to get it out of the way, just want to get through it, and then they kind of start gaining into a rhythm after that. So she's true. She's still the one to beat. But just watch out. Especially she had some trouble with her forehand as well. So it's just something to watch as the rounds go on. But we're not going to look too much into it at this point. Aryna Sabalenka looked in fine fashion as well. She beat Martinikova and seems in very good form. Again, the heat was quite intense at this point in the day where she was playing. So she's definitely seems to have found a rhythm a lot quicker than, say, this time last year as well. So we'll keep an eye on her. One of the positive stories of the day, the Aussie wildcard Kimberly Burrell beat Kanepi, who is seeded a lot higher than she is. So Kimberly Burrell got in because usually they give a wild card qualification, the Australian Open do, and I think Venus Williams actually got it, but she had to pull out due to injury. So Kimberly Burrell has been on a quite a journey. It's worth looking up. She's well outside the top 100. She had a career high of 154th, I believe. But she's well outside. She's suffered with injuries. I think she made the third round a couple of years ago, but she's had a lot of almost career-ending injuries in the meantime. And for someone like this, someone seated outside the top 100, this is big news. And this is the beauty of the wild card. And there was a bit of consternation about Venus Williams getting it. It's nice that somebody from Australia got it, and will the money that they will gain from this will really support them, because I think I'm guilty of it myself, focusing on the top few, but the pressure on the players outside the top 150, say, you have to, you're kind of independent contractors in one way in tennis, you're flying around by yourself, you've to pay for your coaches, and without success, it's a tough gig. So those guys, we talk about pressure. Those guys are under a different kind of pressure, and wonderful to see a win like it, and very emotional at the end, and saying how lucky she is to be able to do what she loves, and that's echoed all around. A lot of people asking Nadal a lot of the time, why he's still going, or every time he's asked about retirement, he says it's quite simple, that he loves what he does, and he's happy to be able to do it for as long as he can. So just wonderful to see that, and hopefully she will have a run of form now without any injuries and stuff like that. But those are the stories that we need to illuminate as much as the top seeds or whatever. So it's very unlikely that she'll go on to win the whole thing, but absolutely wonderful. She said she thought of giving up at one point as well, so great to see her. So on the men's side again, Tsitsipas won in the last set tiebreak. So didn't have it all his own way either, but the crowd got behind him and he powered through. Felix Auger-Aliassime, the Canadian, fought against his pal and won it. Nadal beat Draper in 4 sets. Again, we're not going to read too much into it. We've probably seen him play better in first rounds. We've also probably seen him play worse in first rounds. So now he was happy enough. Draper, again, a bright future ahead of him. But the match of the first round on the men's side was Andy Murray beating Matteo Berrettini in 5 sets. It was an absolute cracker. Match point was saved, and Murray was 2 sets up at one point, so Berrettini clawed his way back, but Berrettini did indeed have a match point, but it went to a final set tiebreak, and wonderful. Again, Murray has been on a long journey with injuries, and is as tough as you will find, and it's amazing that he's even here, really, considering some of the injuries he's had. So wonderful to see him, and a great game. for a first rounder. And Berrettini was wonderfully gracious in the press conference after. It's a tough loss for him. He would have been expected probably to pull through that. And after making Wimbledon 2 years ago, he's had a frustrating old time of it. But he took it very, very well and praised Murray. So that went on for nearly 5 hours, or just over 5 hours actually. And wonderful to see that as well. Zverev, speaking of injuries, Zverev won his game, and Novak beat the Spanish Baena. Easy enough in the end, his hamstring doesn't look to be hindering him too much. There's a lot of strapping on it, but Baena has a lot to be proud of. You never rule out the Spanish. They never give up. So there was a patchy period in the middle of the second set, and Djokovic wasn't quite in the rhythm. Now, by the end of the third set, he was really in total control of that. But again, not sometimes the match score doesn't tell the whole story. So a lot of positives, a lot of great tennis. Great in one way to see a lot of the top seeds through. You want to see the stars, but also great for wildcards and players we probably haven't heard of in a while, or who are outside the top seeds, to be making it through and making money, and hopefully will be able to sustain their career for longer, or propel it as well. So that's it for the rough guide to round one. Day 3 is nearly upon us, and we will see how we go. And yeah, if there's any questions, send them to me. And thanks for all your lovely messages after the preview. And hopefully we can keep going. So we'll probably see it Thursday after round 2, depending on how things are going. And yeah, thanks a million.